Hello and welcome back to segment 3 of Girl Talk. My name is once again Kiersten and I'm glad you stuck around this long because I'm about to give you the top 5 things that happened in sports this week. Starting out at number 1, we have the news that you've definitely heard if you follow sports at all. The volleyball team from Nebraska has set a world record for women's sports attendance. The team went head-to-head against the Omaha Mavericks on Wednesday, August 30th, 2023, in the Lincoln Memorial Stadium, where the University of Nebraska hosts its football games. The stadium itself has set capacity at 83,406, meaning that there were more people in attendance at the volleyball match than there ever could be at a football game. Now, with the smaller court, there were seats on the turf as well as having stadium seats. So I'm not trying to discount football, but this is a huge deal. Now, speaking of the numbers, the new record now sits at 92,003. Let me say that one more time, just in case it didn't sink in. 92,003 people bought tickets to come watch Nebraska's volleyball team play in the football stadium. Before the Huskers broke the record, it went to the Champions League match against Barcelona and Wolfsburg with an attendance record of 91,648. They held this record for a year and a half before Huskers volleyball swooped in to take the crown. Now, breaking records is nothing new for this team, by the way, as they also hold the record for the NCAA women's sellout streak, with 306 regular season matches completely sold out. And as a show that tries to bring light to women's sports, this is so important for us to learn about, but also for all the little kids who dream of going pro or playing in college. Seeing news like this puts stars in the eyes of every young and upcoming volleyball player, and I honestly can't wait to see where we go from here. Next up on my list, the Atlantic Coast Conference has made some new additions to its roster to debut in the 2024 season. As the Pac-12 conference falls apart, each team has been scouting new places to fit in, and 3 teams have found their place within the ACC. Stanford, California, and SMU were all voted into the ACC on September 1st, 2023. Now, before I go on, anyone who might be confused, college football is broken into 3 different divisions, the top being Division I, which is what I'm talking about here. And then within Division I, there are different subcategories called conferences, which are broken up by area, past performance, size, stuff like that. There are currently 10 conferences, but one of them, Pac-12, is on the brink of collapse due to some legal stuff. So teams within the broken conference are trying to switch into a different one to get paid better and play more competitive football. Now, if you've ever wondered how teams switch into a new conference, then you're in luck because I'm here to tell you. There's a big vote done by all of the presidents of the schools that are already in the conference. Now, this is usually a unanimous vote, and it's kind of just a formality. However, sometimes, like this time, there were schools that dissented against adding the new teams. Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina, and NC State all had their own reasons for being against this change. Now, the league has 15 teams, which means there needed to be at least 12 teams in agreement for the vote to pass. But with 4 teams against the new additions, the vote sat at 11-4 for a hot minute. NC State did end up switching their vote, and the ACC welcomed 3 new teams for its 2024 season. This brings their league from 15 to 18, 17 teams who play football full-time. Now, taking a small break from football, I want to talk about 2 of my favorite tennis players. Jessica Pegula and Madison Keys are 2 tennis players from the U.S. that I've followed loosely for the past year. And last week, they faced off at the U.S. Open. Pegula and Keys have had chances to play together over the summer, but for one reason or another, they just kept missing. Now, close your ears if you don't want to hear about how this match ends, because I'm going to spoil it. Jessica Pegula was a little bit off her fire, which gave Keys the upper hand to sweep the dub. Now, the 2 are close friends off the court, so even when they were opponents, there was a sort of respect that they had for each other, and it translated into the match. And then when Keys advances to the quarterfinals for the first time since 2018, it's somewhat of a victory for them both. Oh, coming up with another piece of interesting news, I'm going to give you a glance into the world of pickleball. Now, if you're like me, you didn't know that pickleball existed until like 2 months ago. I mean, it was something I knew was there, but no one played it. And all of a sudden, everyone and their mother play it once a week. But where did it all begin? Realistically, where most sports do, with 2 rich guys with nothing better to do. One hot summer afternoon in 1965, a congressman and a businessman wanted to play badminton after a round of golf, but they couldn't find a full set of paddles, so they improvised with a ping pong paddle set and a plastic ball. Now, flash forward to 2023, and the game has grown so much, so fast. More than 36.5 million people play pickleball, and those who play professionally have the opportunity to play in 2 leagues: the Professional Pickleball Association, founded by Connor Pardoe, and the Major League of Pickleball, founded by Stephen Kuhn. Now, when I say have the opportunity, I mean had the opportunity, because there's been some sketchy stuff that's going on behind the scenes of the business of pickleball. Stephen Kuhn has broken his agreement with Pardoe and has been secretly offering million-dollar contracts to have players agree to only play in the MLP. Now, when Pardoe found out, he felt like he was scrambling as he was trying to save his company, because now he's missing out on so many of these players that are only playing in one league. But on the upside of this, pickleball players are finding financial stability in something that started out as just a hobby. Contracts offered by the MLP have opened doors for pickleball players, and it's given them the chance to do what they love and make money doing it. So there is a silver lining in that. Finally, to round out the week, our UCF Knights dominated last week in their first Big 12 game. The Knights faced off against Kent State on August 31st, and the game was an easy victory for Orlando's hometown team. John Rice Plumlee was easily the MVP of the game, throwing for 281 yards and rushing for 90 of them, leading the Knights to 4 total touchdowns and ultimately the victory. The odds were in favor of the Knights, though, as Kent State has no returning starters on their offensive line, and only 4 returning starters in total. There was also, I was at the game, there was this crazy interception, and the crowd went wild. The energy was so good, and I think home games need to continue to show out like this because it just brings such a huge difference to the team. Now, obviously, this was a confidence booster for them, and I do think it's one that the Knights can enjoy, but I'm a little worried for our team. Where do we draw the line between confident and cocky? With such an easy win, one could make the argument that UCF still has much to prove in the Big 12, and that there's still room for improvement. That being said, I am so excited for this season, and even though no one's asked me, I'm hoping for at least an 8-4 record. Now, that is all the time we have for this week. But hey, thank you guys so much for watching. It means the world to me. On behalf of Doug and Phil, and I guess the Miami Heat, and as well as Patrick and Brianna, and of course, on behalf of Lexi and myself, we wish you all a wonderful weekend and come back next Saturday at noon for some more Girl Talk.